Okay, we have a protest in front of us. I see we have a protest filed by Scott against Andrew. You two have met each other?
Yes.
Okay, let's introduce the panel. I'm Andrew Alberti. I'm an international judge from Toronto. David?
David Bree, a national judge from Toronto.
I'm Dale King, and I'm a regional judge from Toronto.
Okay, do either of you have any objections to us hearing the protest on the grounds that we might be an interested party?
Nothing here.
Okay, Scott, you're the protester. Can you tell us how you informed Andrew that he was being protested?
I hailed him, and that was immediately, within 1 second after the incident.
Okay, you hear the hail?
I did hear that.
Okay, no issues. All right, Scott, if you would like to describe to us what happened in the incident, you can use one boat or a set of boats, it's up to you. There's the wind.
Sorry, was the protest received within the time limit?
Protest was received within the time limit, yeah. Good point, thank you.
I'll be the blue boat, and let's just, so position 4, right about there, and then we have position 3, and, sorry, I'm getting my numbers mixed up here. Other position 3, and position 2, and then we've got our position 1s here. Okay. Now let me paint a picture for you. First of all, the wind was about 7 to 8 knots from about 210 degrees, and the seas were relatively flat. This was race 1. It was the third leg of the race. It was the second upwind. And we were on the starboard tack lay line to the windward mark, probably slightly overstood, so a little bit reaching at that point. For context, the overlap was created by blue tacking to leeward of yellow. At that point it was probably, there may or may not have been an overlap, but as blue slowed down in the attack, you can see in position 1 there's an overlap right there. And then yellow was sailing a little bit faster at position 1 because of blue's tack. Our speed was, I'm going to say, about 4 knots. That's about 6.75 feet per second, or about 2 seconds per boat length by my speed tables.
Excuse me, what was your speed here?
About 4 knots,
And then
maybe a little less.
And then the rates?
It was about 6.75 feet per second, or about 2 seconds per boat length. You'll see here at position 2, between position 1 and 2, I blew left up about 5 to 7 degrees, and the boats began to converge. I'd like to add that my rate of turn was steady throughout the incident, and I understood that my limitations on changing course, and that I had to give room to keep clear upon changing courses per Rule 16. After about 1.5 boat lengths, the boats, and that would be about 3 seconds, the boats became about 3 to 4 feet apart. And after another 1.5 boat lengths, or another 3 seconds, I curtailed my luff as the boats approached head to wind. And I believe yellow went past head to wind, and their port stern quarter made contact with my stern quarter on the starboard side, just about a foot forward of the stern. There was no damage to my boat. I don't believe there was any damage to yellow. With those calculations and those speeds and times, I think the incident from the beginning of my course change to contact was about 8 to 9 seconds. And, in my estimation, yellow as a Wimmer boat did not keep clear of blue. In fact, I would submit that yellow wasn't even really the definition of keeping clear by position 3, let alone position 4 when contact occurred.
Andrew, would you like to describe to us what you think went on?
Sure. So I'm not going to dispute the boat positions, other than I think they're sort of parallel at this point. From every point, from the point that Scott came under and tacked underneath me, I realized my onus as Windward boat to stay clear. As he started to luff up, I matched him luffing up. And as the boats came in boat position number 3, we were nose to nose. Scott continued to luff up to the point where we were head to wind, realizing that under my obligations to the boat to keep clear, I initiated an attack. I don't believe I had the room and opportunity to continue to keep clear, and I think under 16.1, Scott fouled me as I was unable to meet my obligations to keep clear.
Okay. Andrew, do you have any questions for Scott about his testimony?
Yeah, so Scott, you talked about a constant rate of turn, or you had a constant rate of turn. When you first initiated your luff, did I respond to your luff?
You did respond, yes.
And did I continue to respond to your luff throughout?
Yes, however, the boats were converging throughout the whole incident. So, continued to respond, I would agree with. Were you responding in a way that was commensurate with my luff? I would say no.
And so, by your calculations and the time frame that you made, you talked about the speed of the boats between boat positions 2 and 4. It was about 5 to 6 seconds the last time.
Between 2 and 4, yeah, about 5 to 6 seconds.
And between 3 and 4, about 2.5 seconds.
Yes.
Scott, do you have any questions for Andrew about his testimony?
Yeah, I actually have a few questions. So you said that when you left, you were matching me, yet the boats in each of these positions, which you agree with, were actually converging. So how could that be matching?
I think when we're talking about the distances here and the speed at which things were happening, I was doing my best to turn up the rate of speed. So I was doing my best at the time and the speed that the boats were moving to match your course. And given the short distance and times involved, yeah, I would admit that they did converge. Small amount.
So in position 1, I am bow forward, blue is bow forward of yellow. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And so as boats pivot on their center of resistance or daggerboard, it's a boat that's behind is actually, it's easier for them to respond. Would you agree with that? As opposed to a boat that's ahead.
So say that again?
If a lured boat is forward of another boat, may I board two boats? And this is part of my question, so thank you for indulging me on that. Doesn't matter which one. Thank you. So if that's our position one, right? If the lured boat luffs, because this boat's further ahead, red, they pivot on the center of resistance, and they should go like that if they respond accordingly. If it was a case like this, where the lured boat chose to luff too late, it would be harder to keep clear. My question to you is, how can you say you were matching in position one when I changed my course?
My recollection at the time was that I was doing my best to match you. With what you're describing here, I take your point, but still, my recollection is I was doing my best to match you.
Give those back. So you would agree that with what I said, and I believe if I infer what you said, that it was about 8 to 9 seconds from the beginning of my course change to contact.
I believe that from boat position 1 to boat position 4, that it was approximately 8 to 9 seconds.
Okay. So I won't put anyone through this, but we could have an 8 to 9 second moment of silence, and we could see how long that really is. But it is a fair bit of time to, in my estimation, to respond and keep clear. My final question is, the definition of keeping clear states, and there will be a question at the end of this, when boats are overlapped, if the right-of-way boat can also change course in both directions without immediately making contact. In position 3, would I be able to change course without immediately making contact?
Well, I would come back and also say that you need to give me room and opportunity to stay clear as well. So adjust my course, so.
Well, okay.
Sorry, let's focus on the questions.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'd like a yes and no.
But it's putting words in my mouth, so I also want to
Don't do
understand.
that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay. So,
I can restate my question.
restate your statement.
Per the definition of keeping clear in position 3, are you keeping clear?
I'm in the act of keeping clear, yes.
No further questions.
Okay, do either of you have questions you want to ask before we get to the witnesses?
Just at your point where you completed your tack, and your comment was that yellow was going faster. What do you estimate the speed differential was at that point?
Lasers don't lose too much speed in attack in those conditions, so I would say that if our speed through the water on average was 4 knots, I might have been doing 3.75 had I lost the quarter knot in attack.
Okay, thanks.
And I just have one question. In position 2, you stated that you were 3 to 4 feet apart.
Yeah.
On position 3, how many feet would you be apart?
I think it was about 2 feet.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll save my questions until we've heard from any witnesses we have. Scott, do you have a witness you wish to call?
Yes, if someone could go get him, please. It's Matt.
Okay.
Hi, Matt. Scott's called you as a witness in protest. Are you aware of the incident that took place in race one, which ended up in contact between these two boats?
I am.
Good. All right, could you, using these boats, and we will use this as can blue and this as can yellow, just for consistency, describe to us what you think happened.
And blue is Scott?
Blue is
Yellow is
Scott.
Andrew?
Blue is Scott, yes.
Okay. So I'm just gonna pull these a bit closer to me.
Yep, absolutely.
I may have only, I don't know if I use the other boats. But basically Scott was coming, was sort of up here, tacked slightly ahead and to leeward of the yellow boat, completed his tack, and then I'm not very good at doing pushing boats, but then not sure why, Scott started going up, continued going up, and they're both head to wind like that.
Okay. Andrew, do you have any questions for Matt?
Yeah. So I think you said that in boat position one, or when you first saw the start of the incident, Scott had tacked underneath me.
Correct.
And do you know what course we would have been on relative to the wind approximately? Close haul, less than
You would have been on the close haul on the starboard lay line.
on the starboard ley line. And Scott tacked on to starboard. And what course was he been on?
Close haul,
Okay,
at the completion of his tack.
close, okay.
And I was behind, I was over there, so I'm not sure of the separation, but I would have thought he would have been clear ahead when he completed his tack.
But what course would you have been on?
Close haul.
Okay. And after that tack, Scott started to luff me? Or what, after Scott tacked, what happened?
So coming out of the tack, he was to leeward of you, you started to overlap him, and as you were overlapping him, he started to luff you.
Started to luff me. And was there contact? Did you see any contact?
Don't know. In that I was looking through this boat at that point, so hard for me to say.
Okay. And did you ever see me, so you saw me head to wind?
Yes, I'd say at the end of you were both head to wind.
Did you see me go beyond head to wind?
Honestly, I saw this start to happen. I thought it was a little goofy, and I kept going. I wasn't paying attention to you guys at that point.
When you saw Scott luffing me, how did I respond to Scott's luffs?
You did start to luff, go head to wind. It was not, in my judgment, what I describe as immediately.
So, in your judgment, what was it?
3 to 5 seconds after.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions?
No.
Scott, do you have any questions for your witness?
I have no questions.
Dale, do you have any questions for me?
I don't have any questions.
Sorry, where were you located?
About where your left hand just was. So, back in here.
And what distance would you say that was away from?
About where it is right now. About 6, maybe 5 or 6.
Say the beam of the boats up ahead, or?
What do you mean when you say a beam? Sorry. Slightly to leeward.
There?
Yeah, so at the time they finished this, I would have been, like, sorry, the wrinkle. But, yeah.
Can you describe how quickly you felt the two boats left? What term would you use for how quickly or slowly they left?
I would describe it as quickly.
Both boats? Any questions?
I don't have any more questions.
I think we're done with you. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Scott, do you have any more witnesses?
I do not.
Andrew, do you have any witnesses?
I do not.
have a couple of questions left. I'll put it down here. Andrew, you described that you were doing your best to match Scott on the left. Were you doing your best to match his turn or doing your best to avoid him?
So let me give you some frame of mind where we're at. So as Matt described, we were on the starboard lane line. I don't agree with Matt. I think Scott and I were overstood. So as he started to luff up, at first, why are we luffing up, right? Didn't make sense. I thought we'd be going to the mark at this point. And as Matt said, sort of a fairly fast luff up. So I don't know how to answer your question. So I was doing my best to avoid him, but it might have taken a second to figure that it's a very fast luff, and I wasn't expected to come that quickly based on where we were on the race course at that time.
Distances. Going back to, and if you can remember the positions, we can maybe put the boats back, but if not, maybe just remember it. When you describe the boats as being parallel, well, yeah, we can use the protester's diagram if you want. When you describe the boats as being parallel at position 3, how far apart do you think they were? We had a description from Scott, but I didn't hear from you. So I can put them approximately back into position. We have the boats here. We have the, here we have the boats start to luff, and then we, if I remember correctly, we have them parallel. Your comment was they were parallel by position 3, and then contact by position 4. I won't get that exactly right, but I'm just trying to get. So when you said they're parallel there, how far apart do you think the boats were?
I'd say 4 to 5 feet.
4 to 5 feet. All right. I don't have any more questions. Do you have any more questions for either?
Sorry, just to confirm, and you said there was contact at position 4?
Yeah, so we went to head to wind. I thought the luff was going to continue at this point, and so I to avoid him, I had to keep turned into a tack. And then as that happened, my aft quarter kicked in.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. And you just confirm, Scott said there was no damage. There was no
No
damage.
damage.
Any more questions?
I have none.
All right, if you'd like to you'll both have a chance to sum up your case here. If you can give us a summary of your case, you don't need to repeat all the testimony. I appreciate it. Scott, would you like to sum up first?
Sure. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for your time. What I'd like to really emphasize here is that, my rate of turn was constant. I curtailed my luff just before I reached head to wind. The testimony showed via the witness and even the testimony of the protestee that there was not exactly matching my luff, and the witness even said that the other party did not respond immediately. We also established that through testimony that it took about 8 to 9 seconds from the beginning of the luff to contact, which is a long time to keep clear. And I really just, I feel that the yellow boat did not keep clear. And they were given ample room to do so according to my limitations on changing course.
Andrew?
So I believe what happened, and if we listen to Matt, there was a delay in my initial response to Scott's luff, but given the distance at the time and the course to the mark, I didn't react immediately, didn't quite understand it. When I understood that the luff was happening and in Matt's words, quite aggressively and fast, I responded. I continued to luff to the point where I went head to wind. The boats continued to come together, and then, as I say, to continue to avoid Scott, I was tacking off and away. And during that, because how the boat turned, the back quarter of the boat turned and hit Scott in my act of trying to avoid and stay clear of Scott.
Okay. Well, if the two of you would like to step out, we will reach a conclusion, call you back in, and give you our findings.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, my first comment would be Dale, just quick straw poll. Dale, who do you think's right here?
I think the Lunar boat is right,
So your final conclusion would be?
that, yes, that the Windward boat did not turn
It
out.
is disqualified.
Yeah.
David?
Yeah, I agree. I think the comment of not reacting immediately is an important point there.
Okay, I come to the same overall conclusion. So we've got a final conclusion that yellow is disqualified.
Yes.
And it's for breaking Rule 11.
Mhm.
Now, let's work through. I have a slightly different reasoning than David for it. So I'd be interested to hear Dale's position. What is it that you think yellow didn't do?
I don't think they turned out quickly enough and hard enough. So that, out of the testimony that I heard from everybody, the consistent piece was that it wasn't as quick as it should have been,
Okay.
nor as hard.
The one point that Scott made that I didn't agree with him on position 3 was he said that at that point, yellow was not keeping clear.
Yeah.
And the key point is in that definition, it says immediately turn. And so at 3 to 4 feet or 4 to 5, which was the comment, immediate to have contact with the other boat.
That is in my mind almost a red herring. Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay.
But 2 feet of separation between that in these conditions is still meeting the definition of keeping clear. It may not be doing enough to prepare for where you're going after that, but it's still currently meeting the definition of keeping clear. The different, like there's 2 different ways we can look at this, and I heard one from you and I'm thinking the other, and that's why I just want to discuss it. One is that the yellow boat didn't react soon enough, like start her turn soon enough, and the other is that she didn't turn quickly enough during her turning.
Mhm.
And in my mind, what happened is that yellow essentially attempted to match blue, but in doing so, they converged. So she isn't there, because they're closer here, they're closer again there, and they're closer again there. She's not matched it. Her turn isn't quick enough.
That's actually a good point, because the part that I forgot that was said was that during all of this time, they were converging. And that's where yellow also put themselves at risk.
And that's why I asked, Scott had talked about how far he was apart at 2, but not at 3. And obviously they're converging, but how much was that? So it wasn't as immediate or promptly enough.
So blue tacked onto starboard, ahead and to leeward of yellow, who was on the starboard tack ley line. To the windward mark. We are in conditions ahead of that. I'm trying to get our facts right. 7 to 8 knots
And relatively
with flat seas. When the boats became overlapped, blue started to luff. Yellow responded by luffing.
Match?
Well, I'm not sure they matched. That's part of the problem. I don't want to say that. Blue's luff was quicker. Than yellow.
Yellow's reaction, or yes.
Well, yeah, and
Yep.
it's the turn that I'm saying is quicker rather than the timing. Yeah, there was maybe a pause in doing it, but that I don't think is the problem. The problem is that her arc is shallower than his arc, which is why the arcs end up converging into each other. The curve, the about the same radius of turn. When the boats got to head to wind, there was very little different distance between them, and yellow's stern hit. Well, I forget the distance comment. When the boats got to head to wind, yellow's transom hit the aft quarter of blue, while yellow was tacking.
So this may just be a fine point. So did they break 13 or 11?
At that point, technically at that point, they've broken 13. So they're actually disqualified for breaking rule 13. There was no damage. Now, our standardized conclusions, and I have my put them here. We're starting with 11, but we're really getting into 13. Why am I not finding? No, here's just a special page. Well, that's all validity. That's what they said. Conclusions. 11, 13. So after passing head to wind and before being on close haul course, X failed to keep clear. So after passing head to wind and before being on a close hauled course, yellow failed to keep clear of blue. Yellow broke RS 13, and we have a conclusion for the
Sorry,
Yes.
just before you go to the conclusion, and the right-of-way boat did not break rule 14.
well, I'm just going to the 14 in fact, because in fact the giveaway boat did break 14 by not keeping.
So, but it's
No, the giveaway vote isn't exonerated yet. Yeah, it's just to qualify for 14 as well. Yellow did not avoid contact when it was reasonably possible and broke 14. They broke 13 and 14. So what I was saying is yellow did not avoid contact when it was reasonably possible and broke RS 14.
yes.
Blue but she breaks 14, but she's exonerated
Under
under
43(1)(c).
43.1. So first we have to have blue, the right-of-way boat, did not avoid contact with yellow when it was reasonably possible.
It's the 43.1(c).
Blue broke rule 14. Blue is exonerated under 43.1.
43.13C.
43.1C. Since blue was the right-of-way boat. Vote. And the contact did not cause. And the contact did not cause damage or injury. She is exonerated. Under RRS 43.1C for breaking RRS 14. All right. We happy with that decision? All right. Somebody
Want me to go grab them?
go grab the parties? Yes. Okay, we have come to our conclusions. Let me read them. It was 7 to 8 knots in a flat sea. Blue tacked on to starboard ahead and to leeward of yellow, who was on starboard tack lay line to the windward mark. When the boats became overlapped, blue started to luff. Yellow responded by luffing. Blue's luff was quicker than yellow. When the boats were at head to wind, yellow's transom hit the aft quarter of blue while yellow was tacking. There was no damage. So that is our facts found. Our conclusions are after passing head to wind and before being on a close-hauled course, yellow failed to keep clear of blue. Yellow broke RS 13. Yellow did not avoid contact when it was reasonably possible and broke RS 14. Blue, the right-of-way boat, did not avoid contact with yellow when it was reasonably possible, so blue broke RS 14. However, since blue was the right-of-way boat and the contact did not cause damage or injury, she's exonerated under RS 43.1C for breaking RS 14. So the final decision is that yellow is disqualified. All right, that's the end of the hearing. Thank you.